Welcome to Flesh and Pod, a Flesh and Blood podcast, breaking down weekly news and notes from the tournament scene, community drama, game strategy, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Derek and Logan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 122 of Flesh and Pod. My name is Logan. I am your host. We're only like 8 weeks away from having done another, that being 30 straight months of doing this show. Like, that's
we are 1 week away from episode 123, which is just also fantastic. Yes. But that also means that we are 1 week away from being 1/3 of the way to episode 369. And I know that's quite a ways away, but damn, she fine.
Yeah, that's a long ways away, but damn, she fine. My name is Logan. I am your host. And with me as always, well, mostly always, kind of always. Ish, Jace esque.
Probably not for long, because Greg was so good in my absence that.
Derek Oswald, by the way, the problem with Greg here, while Greg is amazing and was a blast, he would eventually get us canceled. I'm pretty sure he would eventually fuck up. And
no, I think he's okay.
Oh, he's better than okay. I love him. But that man was fueled by liquid courage. Because he was a little nervous coming on and doing the thing, and
yeah, I don't know why.
It's
not like we're professionals.
We're not
far
even
from
remotely
it.
close to professionals. But
if anything, we're learning from him. Next week, I might have a shower curtain behind me. That's all I'm saying.
And I might talk about how hairy my cock is. You never know. But that one was still all right. Then again, you've said some ill shit too, so I guess it's all in the wash. He was great.
I have indeed served cunt.
God damn it, not again. Okay. But yes, he was great in your absence. Obviously would love to have him back whenever. But I'm glad to have you back. I'm glad to see you again.
I am very glad to be back, especially because I had a couple of days to decompress. If we were recording right after I got back, I would have probably been very depressed. In fact, I would say today was exactly what I needed to get my groove back. Even if it was not a Flesh and Blood oriented day of card games, it was still a great day of card games for me. And so I'm feeling much better now than I was, say, like Wednesday or Thursday.
Now, how many hours were spent at O'Hare International Airport?
Like in the airport itself, I know it was around like 30-ish, but there's some difficulty tracking it because there was also a lot of time that was spent like on the runways going in and out of it, because there were several delays even after the fact for mechanical stuff. And then there was like my favorite, which was even after all of those things, and we finally get to LA, and then our plane doesn't have a gate to go to, so we sit like on the runway for an extra 25 minutes just like waiting for a gate. Like every step of the way that something could be delayed, it was. So if you're not understanding what we're talking about, I guess I should provide some context. I was supposed to go to the Pro Tour event, and I was in LA, but I was not in LA like in time enough to do the event and do the things that I'd promised my family. Originally, the plan was I was going to go to LA, get in late Friday, spend all day at the Pro Tour event, also spend some of Sunday morning, and then we were going to go spend Sunday afternoon at California Adventure Park for my youngest son's birthday, spend Monday at Disneyland, come home Tuesday. No harm, no foul. Like, it was one of those things. I was already going out. The kids were on spring break, and I said, "Hey, babe, you should come along. We'll bring the kids. We'll go to Disney. It'll be fun." I say blizzard. Actually, for Michigan, it wasn't really a real blizzard, but like a blizzard-ish hit the state of Michigan, the west side of the state, which is where we were flying out of this time.
Non-zero amount of snow.
Got 7 inches of snow. There were several delays both there and at Chicago as a result of the weather. So I did not get in until legitimately I didn't get in until Sunday morning, because once once we got to our hotel after having to spend an extra day at O'Hare due to the delays and whatever, it was like 1:30 a.m. or whatever Sunday morning when we finally checked into our hotel. We were so late getting there, in fact, that while we were still trapped at O'Hare, I got an email from the hotel that we were supposed to be staying at that was trying to cancel us for a no-show. And I was like, no, we're on our way. Like, don't you dare.
I will fucking gut you.
Yeah. So by the time we did actually get there and everything that was going on, I was not in a great mood and I was not in a good headspace. So I just made the decision that I was going to try to make it as fun as I could for the kids. So I did not end up making any of the pro tour because like my choices were I literally could have went for like maybe an hour Sunday morning and I would have been there on like 2.5 hours sleep if I had tried to do that.
That's normal sleep for you.
I mean, it is, but I just, with everything else that happened, I just decided not to. And so I did everything I could to make it as enjoyable for them as I could. So I did not make it to the pro tour, even though I was in LA. We did have fun at Disneyland though. Speaking of the delays, like everything cascaded throughout the weekend though. So when we were at Disneyland, every time that like the ride that we wanted to ride was next up, because I had also got the Genie Plus, which is like the new thing they call Fast Pass or whatever. And so you get in this digital queue for like your fast version of the ride. And so like we would hop into Monroe. Again, we were there for Monroe's birthday, technically. He turned 8 on Tuesday and he really wanted to ride the Indiana Jones ride. And we were like, okay, buddy. So we hopped in the queue for that first thing in the morning. And then when our turn was up, it was like, and it's down. So then we hopped back in the queue and it was back up again and it's down. We didn't ride, I shit you not, Logan, we did not ride Indiana Jones until 6:30 p.m. on Monday.
Okay.
It was not the only ride. Like everything that was on the west side of the Disneyland park. So Pirates of the Caribbean, Rise of the Resistance, everything. I don't know if it was electrical or what.
Rise of the Resistance is so good though.
Yeah, it was really good. We jumped into that. We also like, because obviously I took a bunch of Star Wars photos for the other podcast and also for the kids. So we did a bunch of that. We rode the Millennium Falcon ride twice because Stark loved it.
I thought that one was mid, but
well, so I wanted to do Rise a second time, but Stark really likes the Millennium Falcon, and so like I said, I was there to make them happy, not me. I did my one good takeaway. Well, I got 1.5. My one good takeaway is I got this very, very cool zip up hooded sweatshirt that's like Rise of the Resistance themed.
Yep.
So if you're listening, you can't really see it. So it's like Rebel, but they do embroidery now at the park for like dirt cheap. It was $8.
Yeah, you can get your name or whatever.
Yeah. So this is Charmer and Orabesh.
Orabesh. Yeah.
And, when we were there at the park, I also found this really cool Wampa, right? It's a stuffed Wampa.
It's Wampo.
So I took a photo with it and then my wife was like, well, do you want to get it? And I said, well, I don't think we'll have room in our luggage. And I was kind of like wishy-washy, whatever. So I didn't get it at the park. And then we came home and my wife is an internet sleuth and she found one online that was like half the price of the one in the park as well. And had it like arrive the next day. So I got
but where's your lightsaber?
Well, my lightsabers are over there, but we did not do lightsaber building this time around. But the first time that I took the boys, we all did that together. So I do have the custom lightsabers over there, but we didn't do it the second time because we'd already done it, but we were trying this trip to focus on the things that we could only do on the West Coast. Yeah, in California. So like the big draw, and I think I posted it in the Flesh and Pod Discord. And if I didn't, I intended to. But the big thing was we went to Avengers Campus because both my children are named after superheroes.
Stark meeting Stark. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had Stark meeting Stark. I mean, we had a bunch more, but I think that was the only video that I posted in the Flesh and Pod Discord. But yeah, that was our big draw. We wanted to go do all of the Avengers stuff because you can only do that in California. because of the weird contract. And I love that contract because anytime I can explain something to somebody and I can say east of the Mississippi, like I'm a Civil War soldier or something, it makes me giggle.
Well,
but that's literally it.
Has a lot to do with the Mason-Dixon line here. And no, it is. It's for whatever fucking reason. You still do have Guardians of the Galaxy is Orlando.
Mm-mm.
It is. No, it's there. It's at Epcot.
It shouldn't be. If it's at Epcot, well, so here's the thing. If it's at Epcot, it is different because the one that's in California is like a redone Tower of Terror.
Yep. This is not the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. But it's at Epcot. And I think they still just have Tower of Terror.
Yeah, no, well, that's what I was going to say, because we were like also there not that long ago, and there's still the Tower of Terror. So that's why I was like, it can't be the same as the one that was California, because the California one is the Tower of Terror, but then they just redid everything for the Guardians breakout thing. So,
yep. And so, yeah, it's Hollywood Studios has most everything Hollywood in Orlando, but then Epcot has Guardians.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit weird. That has nothing to do with Flesh and Blood, by the way. Like absolutely nothing outside of the Pro Tour part. That part did, but I also don't give a shit. So there's that too. I will let you know you were missed. I was looking forward to spending time with you, and I didn't get to. Both you and Flake, but you also cursed yourself.
I did.
So you'd only really have yourself to blame.
I know. I shouldn't it is what it is. I guess I shouldn't have said it. And I know you said it on the podcast with Greg, because I did go back and listen, because I like our show or whatever.
It's fine.
But yeah, that part was also true. I did at one point say to Flake, I said, listen, like, I know that, it's not your fault and you were put out, and I'm still planning on being there. So obviously I can't do the entire event, but if you can work something out where you want me to fill in for like the Saturday spot for you, and they still pay you for even just a day or whatever, like I'm happy to help you out. Whatever you need, like I'll do it, because I love Flake and I wanted to help him out. And apparently just offering that was enough to fuck up my entire weekend.
Yep.
So
shouldn't have done it. You can never put that into the universe. We have to always make sure that whenever we're doing something for Flake, we don't announce that we're doing something for Flake that involves travel. We just have to have it in our head,
I guess,
and then we'll be fine. So there is that part. But also, your Josh Scott chocolate was eaten by my wife.
Well, then it went to a good home.
It did. It really did. It was a berry wafer. Whitaker's chocolate. Whitaker's chocolate's the nuts, by the way. And she was very happy because it reminded her of chocolate covered raisins. And she loves chocolate covered raisins. Well, is that berries, like berry wafer?
Right,
and
right.
So like dried berries. Okay.
Yeah. So when you said berry wafer, I had like a mental expectation, but then when you said chocolate covered raisins, that was not the mental expectation. But maybe it's probably because here in Michigan, for example, like the Michigan cherries are a big deal. So whenever I think of to me, I was thinking it's probably closer to, we do a lot of like chocolate covered cherries and chocolate covered raspberries here. And so that's where my brain went. And to me that's not quite the same as chocolate covered raisins, but
no,
it's all good. It's all fine.
Nothing's wrong with it. That's for sure. And, like I said, and it was good to see everybody. And we'll talk about like what's on the docket. We're just basically the news cycle for this week is lacking, would be a good word. However, we have not really got Charmer's take on the deluge of information that came out over the Pro Tour weekend. So we will get into that. But first, the discourse has started up again. Hooray!
Yeah. I was going to say, you said slow week for news, which I guess you're kind of correct, but not a slow week for discourse. So.
No. So 2 cards. Well, I think it's 3 now, but at the time, 2 cards from the KO Armory kit or spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is we'll go for the one that no one's crying, that no one's has a problem with first. And that is it's called Run Roughshod. It's a blue block through with 5 power. So in KO, it's a 6 power. Great. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. The other one is called Savage Sash. This is a brute chest with temper and 2 block that says destroy this to give attack action cards with 6+ power -1 resource to play. If you had questions as to why Berserk was banned preemptively, they were then quickly answered. So now the discourse is KO too good. Okay. KO did very well in the Pro Tour, putting 4 copies in the top 8. Did not win. Did not win the calling. And that's with insanely good players playing the deck. Mm-hmm. And even with a pure Tarek Patel heuristic study that was not Steiner math, this is real math, as to when you should roll scab skins. Like everybody on that team had the entire thing, and then he posted on Twitter. Honestly, if you don't follow Tarek, you should follow Tarek. But if you haven't read it, you should read how deep in thought that entire heuristic study goes, because it's kind of crazed to spend that much time thinking about rolling bones when you could just be rolling the bones and not thinking about it.
I mean, it's so interesting, because when I look at that, on the one hand, like, yeah, it's very detailed, very crazed, but I'm also a degenerate, and I know you are too. So when I first looked at it, all I was like mentally processing was like, oh, this is like a gambler's textbook, right? Like, to me, this was like, the secrets to blackjack or craps or whatever. That's what it reminded me of. It literally
is that. And the entire time I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, that math makes sense. That math makes sense. That math makes sense. Okay. Yep. I understand that spot. Okay. That equation tracks. Okay. That all makes sense. But where in any of this is the equation, fuck it, we ball? Nowhere in any of this does it just say, fuck it, we ball. This is clearly flawed. This is flawed math.
No, that's the problem. That's the Steiner math.
Yeah. Right. That's the Steiner math coming in, where it's just like, listen, normally in a 1v1, you'd have a 50% chance of winning. But because I'm a genetic freak, that takes your chance down to 25% to my 75%. But then you throw in Samoa Joe, who would normally have a 33 1/3 chance of winning. But because I have my 75% chance, you have your 25% chance, that takes his percentage down to 18% chance of winning at sacrifice. But that takes my percentage up to a 95.3% chance of winning. It's a whole thing. If you haven't ever Googled Steiner math, just go watch it.
Yeah.
But here we are, and this is only part 1 of the discourse. We'll get to part 2, because the other part, it probably pisses both of us off. And so in this case, we got people screaming from the heavens, oh no's, KO too good. It took less than a day for the community to then turn almost immediately to go, I think I just still play Tunic. Like, what the fuck, people?
Yeah.
Is the sky falling? Has it already fallen? Is it still aloft? Why?
But do you want to know why I love this? First of all, I don't think Brian listens to the show, but on the off chance that you do, I love you, Brian. I appreciate you. And I'm very glad that you are taking the respite that is required for your mental health, because that's a very serious thing. But what I think of when I saw this like back and forth immediately is all of the times where there's a lot of back and forth on social media or in the community or whatever, and then Brian will always say like, well, if people are having a hard time coming to a consensus immediately, it sounds like I did my job well.
Yeah, your job, right? Yeah, correct.
And that's just it, right? Like, this is to me the perfect thing. You you don't want to power creep Tunic, but you don't want to make it so that Tunic is a requirement for every hero for every deck either. And so if you've got some people saying like this is too pushed and other people saying I think I still want Tunic, then that's the exact spot that you want your chess pieces to be. Like, bravo. I do think that the ceiling for this card is scary, especially when you start throwing in like absurd blood rush turns or who knows, right? Like there's a lot here, but on the other hand, this could just be a Tunic that, you know, gets in a 2 block beforehand. And it could just be another thing that you throw into your 80 and you bring it in for certain matchups, right? Because obviously, you know, against an assassin, for example, you would prefer Tunic because you're not going to want to get shredded 90% of the time anyway. So you're just going to use it like a Tunic that might give you, you know, even on a good turn, like let's say you get the upper ceiling and you pop it and you get like 3 resources worth of value out of that thing. Well, if the game went 9 turns, that was the same as a Tunic anyway. So,
yep.
Yeah. I like the card, and I saw the back and forth and I thought, hey, Brian, I hope anyway, Brian is smiling somewhere, because that was where I landed, was like, if people are having a hard time coming to a consensus, listen, there probably is a real correct right answer on one versus the other, or if it's situational or whatever. But if you can't figure it out that soon, then it's just good enough, right? It's just complex enough. It's very similar to like in the Discord that doesn't exist, which is a joke I haven't made in ages.
Right.
There was something else, you know, there was some back and forth. I won't name like the players who said it, but one player who's a very well known player said something to Brian akin to, you know, I really liked Heavy Hitters Draft for like the first 100 drafts. And now, you know, I'm over it or whatever.
I know. And I can attribute to that quote almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Brian's response to that is like, if that doesn't sum up, you know, how difficult my job is, I don't know what does, right? Because you're literally having someone like, I played your game this way 100 times before. Now, granted, it's probably not an exact number. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, who knows? But just even somebody who has that thought process of like, yeah, I played this 100 times, but now I'm bored with it. Like, what else do you want? Right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could probably tell you exactly who said that, but
you probably could, but that's not my story to tell.
No,
I'm using it to point out that is a very, to me, similar statement to the same things I'm seeing in the community, where people are like, hey, you know, I don't know that I'm right, or I don't know that I know until it's like further down the road. But that's good enough. Like you just need enough complexity or whatever that makes someone go, well, maybe not. Right. Yeah. And now you're in a good position.
So then we go to the next part of this. Okay. We got into the time-honored discussion of, does limited belong in the Pro Tour?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Full stop.
Stop fucking.
I'm also gonna, I've been on record and I will repeat it and I will do it now. I wish the Blitz was still a part of it. I don't think that it should have been taken out.
I think that if you want to leave Blitz out of the Pro Tour, I'll listen. Blitz should 100% be part of Worlds.
Yes.
Correct. It should 100% be a part of Worlds.
If you're trying to say I'm the best player in the world, then you should be running the triathlon.
The quad. It should be Living Legend for X number of rounds too. It's a competitive format that battle hardens are run at. If that is something, that should be part of Worlds. If you're gonna be the world champion, fucking prove it. And this whole nonsensical discourse of, now some of it, and again, Brian, great job coming in immediately and saying, okay, whoa, I need specifics because I need to fix this. Is there were reports of collation issues and such in packs at the Pro Tour that made it sound like, and really did sound like, that the packs were mixed out of boxes, which they shouldn't be. Because there were reports of entire pods where there were total 20 blues, And that shouldn't happen, right?
Right.
Like that in printing shouldn't be possible. But if the packs got mixed, if there were damaged cards that were not replaced like for like, there's a whole list of scenarios, right?
It's it's a high end competitive event, so they're like pre-opened and repackaged
Correct.
as well, right? So there's look, I'm not gonna start any sort of conspiracy theories, but I'm just saying, like, in theory, that's definitely the thing you want to report, because that could also mean that somebody just like accidentally made a mistake during the repackaging. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of moving parts at those.
Yep. And if something's made it scrub up, then okay. Then from there became the pronouncements of everything from it's unfun to its high variance, which, for fuck's sake, you think that shit's high variance? Go play 2 games of Magic. Have fun. And on down the line, right? And it was just like, and so, Brian in his normal pithy nature was like, my advice would be get good at limited. Okay.
Yeah.
And then people took offense. I'm not naming names, although it's a sign. Yeah. I don't want this to come off. Well, it would come off the wrong way no matter what. But to say that you're offended by somebody who historically has responses that are of something of a sarcastic nature, and that they have actively worked with the best interest of players at heart, with an I'm offended is...
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to even go a step further, right? If you're going to say, like, I'm offended for that exchange, then you went into it with a bad faith intention, in my opinion, because if you wanted to have, and this is how I always also know, just personally, for example, when people are like just bitching versus like when they have a legitimate beef, because if I am like just trying to be comedic or, just want to vent or whatever, I will post stuff from time to time on social media too. A lot of times I'm just doing it to try to be funny, and people don't always get my sense of humor, and I'll fully admit I'm also just not funny sometimes. Like, not every joke lands, but that's usually my intention. And so, yeah, those short things, they get posted to social media. And if somebody responded to me with a just get good at limited, well, then like turnabout's fair play, because I was also being a jackass. Like, but if I wanted to have a serious discussion,
I wouldn't use social media.
I wouldn't do it on social media. I would send a direct feedback email intended for the right recipient. Like, if I want to provide good critical feedback, then I reach out to the person directly, not in a public forum, and I give them, hey, this is my well thought out thing. And then if I got back from that something pithy, that's different, right? But I don't personally see Brian as the kind of guy that if you gave, well thought out, well constructed, direct feedback to him, that he would fire off like a 2-line email reply. And I know this because I've listened to plenty of his interviews on podcasts. I've seen some of the articles he's written. When he does take the time to explain things, he, even if you don't agree with it, he still explains his point of view, how he arrived at that conclusion. And it's also, I just want to throw this out there, it's also entirely fine to just not agree. I think that's another thing that people are not doing enough, where they can say, hey, that's just not for me, and then not understanding that that's also still a them thing, right? Hypothetically, let's say I hated limited, which is laughable, right? But hypothetically, like, let's pretend I hate draft, and I went to the Pro Tour and I didn't have a good time because, like, I did well in CC, but I didn't do well in draft, and I'm angry and I'm venting and I'm frustrated, and I post it on social media. And then if somebody says to me like, well, just get good at limited, like, yeah, that would bother me, but it's all a me problem at that point, because the reality is I either need to say, look, I don't enjoy limited, and it's okay that I don't, so maybe I'm only going to play in constructed events. And if that means I don't play in the Pro Tour, then I don't play in the Pro Tour. I can just play in all the constructed callings I want. If I don't want to do that because it's not for me, that's fine. That's a me thing. But to me, the thing that crosses the barrier of acceptability is when somebody takes their own personal experience and then they're like, the thing that works for me should be the thing that works for everyone. And so I don't like draft. And so I'm going to say that draft has no place, and I'm going to be demeaning to it, because I did see several takes where people would say things like, draft is not a skill testing format. No, it is, right? You might not be good at it, but I know for a fact that there are a lot of people who put their time into it and then they had very good results. I know a lot of people that take it very seriously and they continue to do well at large events. It is very much a skill testing format. Is there more variance? Yes, that's the nature of limited events, but that's also the appeal if you're a limited player. I think one of the things that often gets lost for card game players is that everybody loves playing card games, but then we forget why we love it. The whole reason we all love card games is because of variance.
Otherwise, we just play chess.
We would be playing chess or something else. The whole reason that you can express skill in a card game at all is that variance creates a new moment, or a hopefully unique moment, and then my analysis of it is superior to my opponent's in that moment, right? It's that micro decision, and it's micro decision after micro decision after micro decision over time that allows me to be the better player. The only time that variance is truly bad in card games is when the variance is so swingy that the variance has more impact than the decisions on average, right? So yeah, is there more variance in draft or in limited or whatever? Absolutely. But is there so much that it's not a skill testing format? Absolutely not. Right? There is, like, if you are routinely doing poorly in draft, it's because you're probably not drafting well. You're not reading your pods. You're not navigating limited as well. Like, it's still Flesh and Blood is still a game of inches. The drafting is still more skill intensive than, say, Magic. I can tell you the number of times I've won Magic drafts because, like, I open one or two good bomb rares, and that's like I just have to survive until it wins me the game. You can open some amazing bombs in Flesh and Blood Limited, and very rarely does it win you the game by itself. Now, there are exceptions, right? Like, I'm not saying it's never happened. There are points in time where, back in Tales of Aria, if you happen to open the legendary chest that was the only source of A, B in the format, you had a leg up, right? I'm not going to pretend that wasn't a thing. But that certainly hasn't been the thing lately. And it's definitely not the case in heavy hitters. There's no card in heavy hitters where it's like, I opened this, so like, as long as I find it, it carries me through all of my games. It's just not reality. So that's the problem that I have with these takes, is that it's demeaning to the people who enjoy the format. It's demeaning to the people that put in the time for the format and want to get better. And again, it's fine if it's not for you. Recognize that it's not for you, and then just decide, do you dislike it so much that you just don't want to play the Pro Tour? Then don't play the Pro Tour Worlds and just play Callings or whatever. Call it good. And if you're like, no, I still want to be a Pro Tour competitor, then you're going to have to learn to do things you don't like, right? Like, some tight ends like to catch the ball, but they still got to learn to block if they want to get the job done. This is that, like, nitty gritty part of being a pro competitor. Like, get your shit together,
Yeah, and one of the things, in Brian's kind of a long form post about stepping away from social media, which, again, please, I would. He was just speaking my dream, which is walking away from social media. But, there's this show, there's other obligations that make it so that I can't. Or it's very difficult for me to. You always can, right? But what people don't sometimes grasp as quickly as they should, or ever, is that social media is where nuance goes to die. There's no nuanced conversation in a social media landscape. There just isn't. It's an echo chamber to end all echo chambers. It's a giant arena where everybody's just waiting for their turn to speak, and no one is fucking listening to anybody else. And this has been endemic of the social media landscape for over a decade, right? And this is, in a lot of ways why things like Discord are a little bit more preferred, or no, I think by most people are just more preferred, because you can achieve nuance in something that is a curated atmosphere. It's much easier to do so. And with this type of, I don't like limited, get good at, well, if you want to, or limited is too high variance, well, you should get better at limited. I'm now upset. And it's like, so you shouldn't talk to people that way. Okay. In what way? And that's where, again, nuance has died in this entire, this exchange.
What's funny to me is I don't even think nuance died in that exchange. Like, that's literally the answer. Right. But that answer, it's a reductive answer. I'll give you that. But that answer is the answer in a reductive form. If you don't like limited and you are still going to compete in the events where limited is a requirement, then you should get better at limited. And if you don't want to, then don't play in those events. And if you're not playing in those events, then shut the fuck up.
I don't see that answer as reductive. In a normal conversation between two people where you can achieve nuance, we wouldn't take that as a reductive answer. We would take it as
but I tend to be very long-winded.
Well, okay, fine, whatever.
Listen, I'm pretty sure I'm still in the middle of a Midwest goodbye from a family dinner on Saturday, so...
Yeah, I've had a lot of those. We have those every fucking night that we record, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
It is the most Midwest goodbye shit you've ever seen.
It's not even Midwest goodbye. Listen, I'm going to pull the wool back a little bit here. A little behind the scenes. I'm going to let you all in. This is how Logan and I end when we're done recording, right? We say hey, that was a good show. I love you, buddy. I love you too. And then we just kind of stare at each other and I go, no, you hang up. And he goes, no, you hang up. And it's just like that.
Yeah, that's pretty actually close to true, honestly. There have been a couple of times where we got the show. We were done recording. We were just having the Midwest goodbye. In the meantime, I'm still doing shit. I had the show edited
and posted once.
And posted once by the time we logged off.
Yep.
It doesn't take 0 minutes to edit the show.
No, not at all. No, you hang up.
Right. It's exactly that kind of shit. So yeah. But this is where we all kind of need to take stock. Right. And I think Brian's response is a good way for us all to do that, is to take what he said and understand the whys and the hows of what this takes. And if you want the transparency, if you want the access that LSS and their staff have given people over the course of the history of their game, which has bred a ton of awesome things.
Yes.
Then you have to be willing to engage the personalities as people and not as something else.
And it's not even listen, it's not even just a Brian thing. I would almost dare say it's an LSS culture thing, because James, I've seen James fire off some stuff where I'm like,
great. I fucking love what he does.
Bravo, James. So I think that is, I like that our community is one where that can be acceptable, because to me, that says that the game is still fun. Right. I think that there are some people that are also, if I'm being entirely honest, they take it a little too seriously. And I know what you're saying. There's a lot of money on the line. There's accolades. There's all sorts of stuff. I'm not saying don't take it seriously. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, it's still all a game that we all love. And we have to remember that games are meant to be fun. And we have sportsmanship and we respect the person across the table. And you should go. This is why I said bad faith argument before. You should go into these things with the understanding that the person that you're interacting with, whether it's LSS or another opponent or whatever, is probably also wanting the best for the game in their own capacity, right? At the end of the day, Brian wants to make the game the best for as many people as he can. James, when he created the game, wanted to make the game as good as it could be for as many people as he could. And that's awesome. And we should remember that even if we don't agree or we have a difference in point of view, at the end of the day, like they are not coming into this with a malicious intent. And so we should not like look for malice where none exists. But also, and I think that this is a really big thing that folks need to kind of take to heart as well. We have to remember that LSS isn't making the game for you. You're making the game for as many people as possible. And it's great when that Venn diagram overlaps with you, and they do a damn good job of trying to make it overlap with as many different people as possible, but it will not be a complete full circle all of the time. They are making the game for you, but they are not making the game for you. And
Correct.
that is wildly different. So you, dear listener, might not like limited, and that's okay, but there's a lot of us that do, and there's a lot of us that want it to be a part of things, and so you're going to have to like find a way to coexist. It's just the way it is, right? There's a lot of things in the game that I don't like illusionists.
Right.
But I just, I take my losses and I complain about it on a podcast instead of going to therapy, like every middle-aged man should.
Sure. And, you know, the honest end of the day, if you prefer your game to be run by a soulless corporation, Hasbro still makes Magic. So you have an option. Easy. Moving on. As I mentioned before, we had the Pro Tour LA keynote, and you got to hear Greg and my takes on everything that was in here. However, we have not got to hear the specifically. I've got some specific things that I want Derek's input on. So we're just going to take another quick tour through the Pro Tour LA keynote. And we're going to start with Part the Misfail, because this is, Derek, there's a new assassin named New. You see what I did there? You see what you've done to me? You broke me, you piece of shit. And
yeah, and you know what I love about New? She got that new, if you know what I mean, right?
Got
like,
that new. That new goes snoo.
The text on this hero is very alluring. Like, it creates a desire within me to play this hero.
I fucking hate you so much right now.
I missed you, buddy.
1 week.
Yeah.
That was a great vacation. Go on.
So obviously, like I said, oh my God, why are all the assassins so cool? I was very gushing about this assassin. I could probably do a dissertation on why I think this assassin is so cool. And there's one of my favorite things is like seeing a card get revealed without any context and then just like running wild. And I love that we have these new blue pitch symbols with the mystic heroes. I hope that what this really means is that it's like talented pitch. So my suspicion is that when you activate these blue pitch things, it will have to be pitched from a mystic card, right? So if you think about the way that we had like fusion with like the elemental stuff in Aria, to me, this is like almost like a pitch fusion, right? Where you have to pitch a mystic card or cards to pay for it. Again, we don't know, right? Could be something else wildly, but this is kind of what I'm using as my baseline for these abilities, because I think that would be a really cool area of design to explore, right? The idea of like talented pitch, essentially. So with that being said, New, real quick, stealth attacks get when this chain link resolves, banish all action cards defending this. And then the instant of, you pay 3 of this, new mystic pitch or whatever, you look at the top card of an opposing hero's deck. If it's blue, you can banish it. So first of all, even without any other text, as somebody who's been playing Fatigue Arachne quite a bit lately, like that perk's kind of cool. It's just a 1-for-1 card trade if you hit a blue, and against certain heroes, that's going to be really prevalent. It's great against like a Kano. It's just funny because yours is an instant as well. So, they could go to activate Kano after like a Ragamuffins or something, and you could be like, no, actually, like, anyway. But also it says until end of turn, you may play blue cards from that hero's banish zone without paying their cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is so good. It's so good. Here's why it's so good. Okay. This hurts me because this is my two favorite classes clashing into each other, in terms of like flavor and whatever. But this, when I first saw this, I was like, oh man, I get to play all of the Guardians blues against them at discount.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I will banish them and then I will be able to throw them back for cheaper and do all of those things. But the sheer fact that it's not just the cards that you banish that turn, it's just any blue cards that have been banished. So your contracts, one of the things I said when Arachne was revealed was that like over time, I wanted there to be some bigger payoff for him. At the time I'd theorized like an attack where if it hits or something, deal extra damage based on, cards of a certain type banish or whatever, right? So like it might say like do 1 extra damage for every red card in your opponent's banish zone or whatever. The idea being like you fulfill some contracts and then you get like a burst, right? Mm-hmm. This is similar but different in that you banish a bunch of stuff and then that just opens up your toolbox. And then in any given turn, you can be like, okay, well, I want to play this card or that card or whatever. But it's also really good against, certain heroes like Vincent or, I would have loved New to have been around during Chain days where you're just like, oh, by the way, like I can play stuff in your blood debt. This is very interesting against Levia, in my opinion, because she's going to have a ton sitting in her blood debt banish zone as well.
Getting to play a widespread whatever, or, just for 0.
Yeah. I wish, now I understand why, and it's 100% going to be for balance reasons. I wish that it wasn't just blue cards from the banish zone, strictly because I think that she would have been interesting into like a Kasai where they have to banish like reds and yellows to activate things.
That's probably the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. But it's already cool enough as it is. And I also like this because this is, we got Arachne, and you could, argue that Arachne is your contract assassin. And then we got Uzuri, and she's very much the stealth oriented assassin because of her ability. And then you get New, who is a bit of both, right? She benefits from the contracts with the banish, but also has your stealth attacks get the bonus as well. I love assassins. They're always so fun to play. And this one is even without seeing any other cards, I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to build a new deck now. Like that's a new
it does
deck.
It does say assassin. So
it does
you're
say
pretty
assassin.
much priced in.
I am so priced in.
Also, this has got Fab Twitter ultra horny again. Like just after horny hitters straight into New. Like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
I guess. And then, and it's in a mystic blue water based set. So it's like your moist assassin. It's like, for fuck's sake. Moisticle? Can we call it Moisticle? Can we do that one?
No.
Okay.
No.
We're going to walk away from that one. All right. The next one is Enigma Ledger of Ancestry. What do you got for Enigma?
Hate.
Okay, good. We're on the same page.
It says illusionist, so I hate it. It's
priced
awful.
Mm-hmm.
Much like New, this one is interesting just in that it poses a lot of questions. Like I always say that reveal season is my favorite time for card games because as you get the trickle, right, as you get the drip feed of new things, I like seeing something and then thinking about like, okay, what does this mean? What possible cards could exist to go with this? What is like the potential intended play styles, right? It's where you get to really stretch your brain and kind of play almost mini game dev for a bit. I say mini game dev because it's one of those things where it's like, you're given this piece and then you don't have the rest, so you have to fill it in on your own. It's like you're the one creating, the cards or the interactions.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, hold on. I had to stop you. I'm getting a breaking news alert. What the fuck is this?
What did you do?
Oh. Huh. Well, breaking news. We have cards from we have cards from the new set.
Yeah, it appears I'm getting the same breaking news. Greg, I love you.
Greg, thank you.
So here's the thing. I missed the breaking news text from Greg because he was already messaging me about assassin stuff. I love that Greg's my assassin buddy now. So I was already getting messages from Greg, and I was just kind of trying to ignore them.
So
and now I'm seeing...
Producer Greg is lighting us up.
Yeah, it's time to transcend. I don't know what card this is yet.
Oh, no,
I'm just seeing the key art, but I love the art.
Okay, so the first
That's going to be a hell of a playmat.
Yeah, the first one we have is Tide Chakra. This is a Mystic Assassin attack reaction. It is red pitch, 1 cost. This border is sick. Target assassin or mystic attack action gets +3. If you've transcended this turn, it gets +5.
Hello.
Okay, that's a lot. Moon.
Even real quick. Before we move on, that is really important because it's just assassin or mystic. And while only new can play this, the fact that she can use this on both stealth and contract cards is really important because most of your assassin attack reactions, like shred can go against anything, right? But you've got like cut to the chase and other things that are, the spike with blood rots or whatever. Those are like type specific, and this is agnostic. So this is going to be really important for her.
The next one is Moon Chakra. This is the illusionist one, so boo. 0 cost, red pitch. Mystic Illusionist instant. The next time you'd be dealt damage this turn, prevent 3 of that damage. If you've transcended this turn, instead prevent 5. Well, Kano, go fuck yourself even harder.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that Tide Chakra is also a 3 block. So it is an attack reaction that blocks 3.
Yeah.
Important safety tip. Then we have Wind Chakra. Mystic Ninja Action. 0 cost, red pitch. Get these borders are so good. The next Crouching Tiger you play this turn gets +3. If you've transcended this turn, it gets +5. Go again. So this one being an action card, but also a block 3. So, So 2 of these make sense, but we haven't talked about Zen. Well, I mean, we have talked about Zen, but this is interesting because we now have a new keyword and we don't know what it does.
Yeah.
Always
right back to what I was saying with that like mini game designer thing, right? So how do you transcend? Is this going to be something on the weapons? Is transcend like you have activated your hero power with the mystic pitch, right? Does that
with
what
the chi? Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what it means to have transcended and then these are turned on?
Well, we also know that from an article that there also is equipment in this set that starts in play face down that gets turned face up during the game.
And that might be the case where it turns face up when you transcend. Yeah.
Right. So you have my attention. Let's see if there's anything new on the mothership as we are in breaking news territory and see if they posted anything that we can utilize.
Pre-release weekend's my birthday weekend, though.
I'm aware. You should be excited.
I'm very excited. I'm even more excited now that I've seen these reveals.
But yes, nothing up to date on the mothership yet. We will keep our eyes open as we record. But that gives us a little bit more information that we didn't have with transcending. Now, the fact that transcend would make most sense to be something that can be done as an instant in most cases, because you do have an instant that has transcend on it that prevents damage. So at least the illusionist, you would think they could transcend at instant speed. And maybe that also kind of gives you an idea on timing, because we have an attack react, an action, and an instant.
Well, Yeah, that's why I was wondering if maybe Transcend was the activation of your hero ability, because all three of the heroes are a once per turn instant.
Right.
Right. So in terms of timing, it could be one of those things where like you do stuff and then as an instant you could transcend and then also do wacky stuff potentially. So I don't know. We'll see. I know we got derailed there. I was just getting ready to say also in terms of things we can infer when we were talking about Enigma, the first line of text about your first spectral shield attack each turn costs, 1 pitch less to activate. I find to be very interesting because that leads me to believe that her weapon will be something that says your spectral shields gain the text like pay pitch to attack with it or something.
Yeah, well, there'll be a weapon like an iris or something.
Well, but it'll be the thing where like the activation will be the text on the spectral shields themselves though, because it's a spectral shield attack that's getting the reduction. So I'm very curious to see how that works out as well, and whether that's a mystic weapon specifically, or if that's a broader illusionist weapon, and how that will factor or play into.
Illusionist is so fucking annoying.
I know.
Can you just get rid of him?
I try all the time, and I don't know what it is, but I very routinely pick heroes where it's a bad matchup.
That has nothing to do with your distaste for illusionist, though.
No, it's just like I'm drawn, like my playstyle is the other end of the spectrum, I think. And so Assassins and Guardians, not that Assassin isn't like an auto loss the way Guardians were for a bit. Well, even, it's not like I've never beaten Prisms or whatever. But my point is that I'm just my playstyle is drawn to heroes that tend to struggle with illusionists but do well against others.
Yeah, yep. And... I'm interested. I'm more interested now than I was when we started talking about these.
Yeah.
Let's move to Zen, Tamer of Purpose.
I
am scared shitless of this.
So
by the way,
I'm not necessarily scared of this, but I'm very intrigued because this is the first ninja that, like, when I've seen the hero, I didn't know immediately what the intended playstyle was.
Combo.
Well, maybe,
but maybe to the combo.
No, see, here's where I'm coming from. When you see Katsu is very much tutor for the combo. Like that's his thing. Like he was introduced with a bunch of combo cards. His thing, you hit, you find combo, blah 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 blah. Fi, you see right on him, and then also on his weapon. I care about draconic stuff, right? Benji. You can still pick combo stuff, but obviously very much like I want the low stuff. Zen, just with the hero text, you create a crouching tiger in your hand, and then you search your deck for a card with combo and banish it, and you can play it this turn. So yes, you can tutor for the combo piece, but you have to have already done 3 of this mystic, pitch or whatever. So that's a pretty hefty price to pay already. And the only benefit you get is a Crouching Tiger. And the Crouching Tiger, unless there are new cards that are combos off of Crouching Tiger, which is a very big possibility, but unless that's the case, everything we've seen up until this point, Crouching Tiger has been like its own build, and then combo builds have been its own build.
Right, but there are a bunch of like cards like Tiger Swipe and shit that have combo that you can just go get.
Yeah, but they are very lackluster if the rest of your turn, like if you're spending like a blues pitch to get a Crouching Tiger, that's not enough. And I'm more intrigued even now with the new reveal, because this is the other end of the spectrum, right? So you've got the combo piece, you've got the Crouching Tiger piece, but a lot of the Crouching Tiger stuff is also traditionally anyway non-attack actions, which is an interesting thing to throw into the ninja play style. And then that was what was just revealed here as well. So my point is this, Zen, more so than any other ninja in the past, I think is going to be a weird combination of non-attack actions, attack actions, and probably some other tools as well. And pun very much intended here, but you will have to strike a balance with Zen. to make him work properly, in my opinion.
Okay. I can go with that. But there's just like, even now there's like, obviously, they're going to print support, right? They're going to print, they're going to print Crouching Tiger support, but there's some pretty good shit out there for Crouching Tigers already. So I think that this hero is scary as shit. Like, that's my initial take on it. And even like, let's say that you're not playing a Crouching Tiger line, but let's say you're playing the Surging Whelming line, right? But you don't get Mugenshi, and you just get Surging and Whelming. Okay. And which is already pretty good. And you're in a spot where, okay, I have the Surging, I don't have a Whelming, I can just go pitch a blue to tutor the Whelming. And that's not the worst.
I mean,
and you can
you're
do
right.
It at speed.
It's not the worst, but I guess what I was trying to say is that it's also not that far off from what Katsu could already do.
It's not. No, I agree with that.
Granted, it's different. There other things have to happen in that scenario and so forth, right? But the trade-offs are that like Zen can do it just whenever he wants. Katsu's is circumstantial, but also you don't like have to go all in with the Katsu one. You can kind of like have your go off turn when your opponent, like Katsu's benefit is that if he starts his thing and his opponent is like not blocking because maybe they're sitting on a good hand, then Katsu can see that and then punish it, right?
Right.
Zen can just do it and maybe force them or do other things. But yeah, I feel like Zen is going to just be this like weird amalgamation of like a bunch of non-attack stuff with Crouching Tigers, but then also the combo pieces you want to find. And
I feel like there's a very good Zen payoff that we don't know, that we haven't seen, that's going to make it so that text is actually just fucking scary.
Yeah.
That's my thought. And I talked to some ninja people and they are like, yeah, that's probably a thing.
Yeah, I'm glad I own my, play sets of like Head Leads the Tail and all of those things that are probably going to end up in that deck as well. The generic ninja stuff that's really good with Crouching Tiger.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least is talking about Chi and Mystic as the primary mechanics of the set. My take on this is going to be very similar to Tales of Aria, where there are no actual generics in the draftable set, and instead there are Mystic cards. So same as Elemental, kind of a 1-for-1, and then you're class locked, but rather than being element locked. Thoughts there?
I think that's a relatively safe assumption. I think that we still will probably end up with a very small number of true generics. But I would say
they'll be in the expansion slot is my thought.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, there will be stuff in the expansion slot, but I mean, even in the main set, I think we might end up with like 5 or less just regular generic cards.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think they're just this is a lot like Aria, but they're kind of doing a do-over on Aria, because Aria was a lot. Like, a lot.
I mean, this could be a lot, too.
It's true. We're going to speaking of Aria, we're going to touch on this really quick. The Crown of Seeds ban.
That's because of Earthbrute.
God fucking damn it. I hate that I think you're right. Like, I'm really mad about it. But I think that it's less likely now than it was last week, because we now kind of get a better idea about the Berserk change, like why Berserk was banned when we see the Savage Sash. But the fact that the Blitz ban for Crown goes into effect in July, ahead of before the next band announcement, because is my mind is because somewhere between that announcement and October, when the next announcement is we're going to have an Earth hero, whether that is in the next set or that is an armory deck. And I am scared shitless that it's Earth Brute. Because no one needs that.
Yeah.
They don't.
Could be. So another thing that crossed my mind, because, LSS had talked about wanting to release X number of just products or whatever. Yeah, it could be an armory deck, could be something in a set, but I wonder if we're also going to get like a mini like revisit to Aria or something where we get maybe we get like round 2 of the round the table thing, but instead it's elemental heroes this time around for could like be a UPF thing, and maybe we get a new.
But they'd be CC heroes, otherwise there's no reason to ban them in Classic Constructed.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Right.
Or maybe like we're gonna get something in maybe PvE is around the corner.
Oh, fucking whatever.
There's a
No. I also think that we could be coming up sooner rather than later on seeing expansion slot heroes. We brought it up last week, and to me, because they've been giving us majestic heroes, majestic adult heroes for a few sets now, I think they're kind of looking at it and going, okay, we're okay to put these in the expansion slot.
Listen, we're going to get one way or the other. I knew that was going to be a thing the moment they said they were moving to just the draftable sets, because all the stuff that we used to get in our side sets have to go somewhere. So we're going to get your Genus What You Needs, but also your Star of the Shows, right? Those were stuff you would get in your supplemental sets. And with all of our sets being draftable now, if you want to introduce those kind of side heroes, if you will, without a dedicated set built around them, then it has to go expansion slot. So yeah,
they could easily put 3 new elemental heroes in the expansion slot of the next set. That no problem.
Yep.
And just say, okay, well, we don't need more. But the hard part there is that they did it. They'd have to do, because of support, they'd have to kind of do Lightning Ranger. I guess they kind of have to still do Lightning Ranger, Ice or Earth Guardian, and then Earth, Runeblade or something. Because there's not enough support otherwise to staple like the talented elements to just another class that doesn't have much support for them.
I don't think that's necessarily
unless the entire expansion slot is those cards.
I think you're mostly right, but I think that you could get away with, like, if you printed in the expansion slots a new hero and like a specialization. So let's just say hypothetically it is like Earth Brute, right? Because Brute just got heavy hitters, and then there would be like all of the Earth stuff or whatever. You could probably print like an Earth Brute just as like the teaser, and then give it more support in the future. But
Channel
it would be
Brute.
Yeah, like it would be fine to introduce that way. And also, it might even be safer to do it with a like unfleshed out card pool, because then you can ease into it as opposed to just unleashing the Aria madness onto the world once again, right? Like it might actually be better to be like, all right, we're gonna take just the generic elemental stuff of like Earth and Lightning and Ice and a new class, and then we're gonna slowly weave it in.
They're gonna give us Ice Lightning Ninja, because why not? Fuck it.
Well, I need an Ice Ninja at some point because I need Sub-Zero. Just full stop.
It'll be Ice Lightning Ninja, Earth Lightning. What class do I get? Earth Lightning Warrior.
No, Earth Lightning is Brute.
Earth Lightning Brute, sure. Earth Lightning Brute,
because it's the like you give the stuff go again and you make them big, right? Like that's Brute.
Sure. And then Earth Ice. I guess probably Earth Ice Warrior.
Yeah. Because then you're going to the fridge, but in a different capacity.
Right. It's just very different. Yeah, sure. Go for it. See what happens. Fuck around and find out. I'm here for
and
it.
all three of those classes got recent support from several sets, right? Warrior and Brute just got heavy hitters. Ninja with Miss Vale and
I swear to fucking
Outsiders.
God, if it's Earth Ice Assassin, I am going to just burn shit down. God damn it! You take that fucking look off your face.
An Ice Assassin would be kind of cool.
So you'd have Channel Mount Assassin and or Channel Lake Assassin.
No, Channel Lake Assassin is where my
Well,
mind
I know
went.
what you want to do. But
I
there are
do,
others
like,
that
jokes
want to bashy,
aside,
bashy.
I do think that it would be very cool to get an Ice Ninja at some point, both because of the Sub-Zero thing, but also Ninja has historically been like this kind of go wide aggressive thing, but it's also been a class that has
Ninja Turtle. Yeah.
focused on blues, right? And Ice inherently as a class has kind of been blue centric as well. So I do think that there's a cool marriage opportunity there.
But the original good Ninja deck, like the original Ninja deck that did well, was Ninja Turtle.
Was Ninja Turtle, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Flick Flack, it turns out when the game first came out, Flick Flack was a hell of a card.
It was Flick Flack, Rainbow Flick Flacks, Drone of Brutality, Block and Kadachi. That's it. That's the deck. And worked out pretty well. Especially since the drones never went away. Weird. Next up on our little list here is We Know Where Worlds Is.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, baby, I think we do. I can't do the baritone like you can, but it was sexy when you said it.
It's funny. I don't think I could do that on command if I wanted to. You have to do something to get that out of me. And talking about Osaka does it.
So Osaka, Japan. So not going to Tokyo. I think we're taking that off the table.
Yeah, because it allows us to both prepare a little bit better for the travel and the shenanigans and whatever, but also it'll allow me to recoup up some vacation days, because October is going to be hell on my leave time from work, because I'm supposed to take the family on a trip to Italy in mid-October, and then I'm going to turn around and then go to Japan.
Oops. I think that also is taking Amsterdam off the table.
I would normally say yes, but when I was talking to my wife about, like, okay, I know we had joked about me going to Tokyo or whatever, but now that they've announced Worlds is in Osaka, I think I'm going to try to go to that. She said, yeah, that's a good idea. And then out of the blue, she went, I still want to go to Amsterdam though. So it's not, and given the way that this LA thing went, it's not completely off the table till it's off the table.
Until it's off the table. And this is Sophia saying that.
Yes, not me. Sophia.
Not you. Right. So that does give it more credibility. I would not say that it's a 0% that I do Amsterdam. If I wind up mysteriously qualified and decide, fuck it, let's just make that trip, it's still something that can be done.
Yeah, if I qualify, I will figure out a way to go.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning. I mean, I have, if it comes down to a money thing, and not a time thing, I have piles of shit that I can just say, fuck it, I don't really care about this. I'd rather go to Amsterdam and then just sell off some stuff. But whereas like Osaka is just like where the Amsterdam budget is currently placed. So that should be, Osaka is going to cost me double what Amsterdam would have cost me, because I do have to take my wife. There is no way for me to not do that now.
And so it's funny because it's going to likely save me money, because Sophie, like, she would go to Japan with me. And I think deep down part of her does actually want to go, but it is not nearly as high up her list as it is mine, because she has a lot of issues with like crowds, and obviously like you can't do Japan without crowds.
You really can't.
Like, she wants to do it because she wants to see it, but she's like also having anxiety about like the idea of doing it. So there's a chance that one might just be me. Well,
like, and the other thing here is that like Tokyo is already hard, but then Osaka, my wife is a giant Sailor Moon fan, and Osaka is like where like the Sailor Moon like headquarters, like store and shit is. So no, I don't get away with this now. Unless I file for divorce, which sure. Yeah. But that's going to cost me more than the trip to Osaka.
If my wife does decide to go with me, it will solely be because we've been watching Shogun on FX, and she really likes that show. And I think it might be winning her over.
Shogun is one of my 3 favorite books of all time, and I have yet to watch the show.
Show's pretty damn good.
It's not because I don't think it'll be good. It's because I need to sit down with 0 things occupying my time and just focus.
Yeah.
And then pick the things out. Like, this isn't the first time that Shogun's been adapted in some way to the screen. And the other ones are, there's one that's okay. There's one that is shit. And this one looks like they're capturing it correctly, which makes me happier. But one of my other favorite books is Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And they did that fucking book dirty in the movie.
Yeah, they definitely did. This is, so it's not a 100% like one-to-one adaptation, but if I'm being entirely honest, I like a lot of the changes that they've made, and that prompted me to, it's very rare that I like pay attention to like press materials for stuff, but because of how good the show has been and some of the changes they did make, I sought out some of the interviews that have been done on the show, and obviously the lead, he's also the executive producer on this, and he's been working on the show for like 7 years. And so hearing him talk about like when they made changes and why and whatever, I have grown to appreciate it even more. It's, they used like an all Japanese, camera crew, and they ran the script through translators back and forth. And they were also trying to, because he talks about how, in the original Shogun novel, some of the stuff isn't technically accurate for the time period or whatever.
I mean, that was because when it was written, it was assumptions with very little feedback.
Exactly. And so in those instances, when they make changes, a lot of it is to maintain the proper accuracy and whatever. So like, it's one of those few times where I'm like, man, they actually like made changes for genuine like care and improvement, and not because they wanted to like Hollywoodize it. There's so much care that went into the show. You're going to, I think, really enjoy it. Like I said, my wife is not like a big Shogun fan or whatever, and she has been enamored with the show. So
is this when we start talking about X-Men 97?
Yes.
Show's great. I am very happy.
Is there, like, real talk though, there's been a lot of very iconic TV show like theme songs, but I don't think that for me anyway, and maybe it's just because of my childhood and how much X-Men meant to me in that period of the 90s and whatever, but like I don't think there's a show that gets me going. Like the X-Men theme song could be in my gym mix.
Yeah.
Like it is a TV theme song that I'm like, I am fired up for. It's not just like, oh, I hear it and there's nostalgia. Like,
no, it gets me going.
It's hard.
It gets me up. Airwolf is another one.
Yeah, Airwolf is a good one, but it's there's something about like, Flake always likes to joke or talk about like your ring entrance, and I think I would pick the X-Men theme song as my wrestling entrance because I would be fired up every time I ran to the ring.
Yeah, I don't like it's incredibly it's an earworm, and the thing is the imagery exists in the song at this point. Like you can like beat for beat, every still that goes with every beat of that theme song because they did such a good fucking job with it.
You know what? I've never said this out loud because this is like an epiphany moment right this point in time, but I'm going to go on wax and say it is my favorite musical score for like film or TV or movies or whatever that is not a John Williams piece.
Okay. There we go. Like
Because John Williams is goated. Like, you can't.
Oh, no, you can't come at the
You
king.
just can't.
No.
I can't even pick a favorite John Williams, let alone like try to best him. But once you take him off the table, I think it might be that X-Men theme song for me, man.
Mine, I have two that go ahead. So Danny Elfman.
I mean, Elfman has some good shit too.
The Beetlejuice theme. Are you fucking kidding me?
Beetlejuice theme is good.
And then I would
Giacchino
also
has some good stuff too.
Yeah, I would say the theme to Tales from the Crypt. That might actually be Danny Elfman, or Hans Zimmer. I guess it could be either. Tales from the Crypt theme. It's Danny Elfman. Never mind. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
So
once you said it, I was like, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it is. And then it's John Williams, Danny Elfman, X-Men theme.
Yeah. Man, that X-Men theme, like every time I hear it, like I can't, I like to joke with my wife.
I'm playing this in my ear now. So,
I like to joke with my wife that there are certain like white people anthems, we are all living on a prayer. We're all whatever, but like, I don't know. There's something about my generation of nerd that I think that X-Men song will get me up. Like that would get me on a dance floor at a wedding faster than
you're just fucking hard moshing when Avalanche is running at the X-Men.
Yeah.
That makes sense, actually. God, yeah, but the go hard that is the Tales from the Crypt theme song is just so much. I fucking love it.
All right. So anyway, we're at an hour and 20. This is a Flesh and Blood podcast.
I don't give a fuck. I'm trying to not drink until nationals. So that's like 75 days from now or something. And so
wait,
I need something.
You're not drinking until nationals?
Yeah.
Does that include the camping trip?
No, that's in August.
Is that in August? Okay. For some reason, I thought that was just before nationals. Okay.
No, but I do have a Vegas trip in there that I'm going to be dry during, which is...
I can, like, it sucks, but, like, I could be dry in Vegas. Like, that wouldn't bother me.
You can be dry wherever. Like,
that's not true.
You're not a person that gets accused of having a drinking problem on a regular basis.
Okay, you're not wrong, but I cannot be dry in the presence of the X-Men theme song. It just makes me wet. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Makes me hard and wet. That's really it. We're going to move on from that. So Osaka's on the game plan for me, and sounds like for you as well. We do have a bunch of other callings here. So we have Tampa Bay, which is the world premiere of the set after part, The Mist Veil. Sadly, it's the weekend after Labor Day and not Labor Day weekend, but c'est la vie. There's also Sydney, Lyon, Portland, and Chicago. So Chicago, I will make. Like that's
Chicago, I will
easy.
Make easy. Yeah, I can drive to that one. So that is, I will be there. Just full stop.
I plan on Tampa.
I would like to try to make either. I mean, I'd like to make both, but I have to be realistic about my expenditures on a year where I'm probably going to Japan and Italy in the same year.
So we'll talk about that offline.
Yeah, I would like to make Tampa Bay and or Portland, in large part just because like my wife's favorite place in the continental United States is Portland, and so I think that one would be an easy sell.
But you know that Tampa Bay is limited, right?
That's the only reason. Listen, it takes a limited event to get me to want to go to Florida. I'll put it that way.
Sure. I mean, me too. But like I said, we'll take that offline a little bit and talk through it because I do plan on Tampa. I'm a lock for Chicago unless there's something else that is interfering. And so yeah, those two are definitely on there. And obviously Minneapolis. We do have the camping trip, # no free ads. But there is the Green Tree camping trip in August. There's a lot of cool shit going on, including the Realm Rumble, which is, or the Fall Brawl, I should say, or I guess this would be a Summer Brawl, which is Saturday, July 20th in Princeton, New Jersey. Classic Instructed, you can get in for $60 to the 5K through April 15th. Links in the show notes. After April 15th, the price goes up to $70. Top 8 gets a invite to the 50K that's going to happen at the end of the year. So they're still getting that locked in as far as venue and exact dates. But towards the end of the year, somewhere warmer than Ohio. So yeah, like plan on being there. I don't know if it's easier or harder for me to make that, depending on Amsterdam. I would almost say that I would be more likely to be at that event if I'm going to Amsterdam, because I can fly to Amsterdam from the Eastern Seaboard and it'd be way cheaper.
Yeah.
So there is a lot on the table as far as travel goes. We do have, like, obviously I kind of got a minute to sit down with my ProQuest schedule. And so I know that I'm going to be doing Mind Games and Magic in Lee's Summit, Kansas on April 13th. April 13th. I'm pretty sure it's the 13th. That's the Saturday. And then after that one, there's a Sunday one in Nebraska that I'm still deciding on. And then the week after that is a doubleheader in Des Moines. So here at Mayhem Comics and Games on Sunday and Game Castle on Saturday. And then I'm in Vegas. So nope, not that. But I'm trying to play in I'm trying to get to 4 of them, just to get to 4 of them. I'm not 100% sure that I'll make that, but we're going to try. Did you have any on your list that you knew you were going to make? We do get asked by the fappers on a regular basis, like, where are you going to be?
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I try to share it on the podcast whenever I know, but it's very difficult because on any given weekend, I am just trying to not end up in grippy socks. So predicting my location beyond that is...
Okay. So what if there was a calling in a sanitarium?
I'm in.
Fair enough. We only have the one listener question this week, which is one we saved.
Did you mention the discount code?
No, because it's expired.
Oh, well, I guess that we are no longer the biggest fans of POD in the last 5 years.
You only have to be like the most minimal fan of POD to be the biggest POD fan.
I didn't say it was a big ask, right? Like, that's a low bar to clear, but I just appreciate that that's what got you. Did you miss me?
Oh, I missed you. I think
my favorite part of listening to you and Greg back from last week was how many times Greg, you got to give yourself some confidence, man. Because there were so many times he was like, yeah, I'm just not as smart as Charmer. And I'm like, no, dude, I say the dumbest shit on the regular on this show. Case in point.
Fans of POD. All 5 of them.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus fuck. There are not 5 POD fans in the world. Like, there's no way. Come on.
It's you and me and my other 3 personalities.
Well, it's not me, so it's you and your other 4. POD is like Hoobastank levels. Like, it's just dog shit.
First of all, don't you dare. don't you dare disrespect Hoobastank that way.
They're trash, and you know it.
They're better than POD.
Well, okay, fine. So is you on a ukulele. What's your point?
No, I think I would still listen to Hoobastank over me on a uke.
I mean, you on a uke is better than POD.
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a given, right? But this has now become a podcast about shit-talking POD, by the way.
Well, I mean, it's not Flesh and Pod if we don't talk about POD.
Go fucking die. God damn it. Why?
I don't know. You named it, not me, man. I just work here.
God damn it. Okay. One listener question from valued member of the Patreon, Blazestorm. We saved this because you had opinions.
I do have opinions, yeah.
Blazestorm asks, what do you think of Part the Mistveil being 8-pack sealed? What do you think this means for the class/card distribution? Go.
I think that it could be a number of different things. All of these have me kind of excited. First, I think we could see an expansion of the expansion slot because, again, we're no longer getting supplemental sets. And so if they're trying to give support to other classes, and based on the feedback we've seen from sets like Bright Lights and so forth, where people are saying, hey, like, I like that new sets come out, but nothing for my class is really hitting the shelves, so I'm just going to buy some singles and call it good. Well, one of the ways that you can get around that is potentially expand the expansion slot. And if you're doing that and it's taking up more slots in the pack, then you can just also increase your pack pool. That's one possibility. Another one could be, again, feedback that sealed feels not as fun as draft because of the greater variance in your pool. I've certainly felt it where, I've opened a sealed pool and I'm forced in many ways to play like a class because I just didn't open anything for the other two. Right. So maybe they're saying, hey, what if, right? Like, let's just throw it out there. What if we just throw 2 more packs in and see what that does? And maybe they tested it internally and they're like, yeah, that feels really good. Let's just move to that. Right. Could entirely be feedback on the limited experience. And I kind of hope that that's the case just because of the discourse that we got, because it's going to then add to the limited discourse. But that's another option. The last thing could be something set specific. So again, we don't 100% know how the chi and all of that is going to work. But if you need a minimal amount to make things work, and if it's, not distributed in a user-friendly way to activate said hero abilities, then they might just want to expand your pool of playable cards so that your experience is smooth, right? Like, it's entirely possible it's one of those things where we just don't know till we see the set mechanics. But
right.
I suspect it's, my second choice. I think that honestly, they probably just said, everyone says like, hey, we really like draft and we don't like sealed. And because they keep wanting to do these limited callings and it's easier to do day one as sealed for logistics reasons. Well, then how do we make that experience better? What if we just throw in 2 more packs, right? Like, I honestly think that's likely going to be the story, because I'm sure that we'll get some sort of a article or explainer at some point, but I would not be shocked if that's it. But part of me does hope that maybe they are expanding the expansion slot a bit. So maybe it's, you get one per pack, right? It just takes up a whole slot for all of them or something. Who knows? But yeah, could be a number of things. I think that it's just to make the limited experience better, though, because if there's one thing, even though it doesn't necessarily happen as fast as we all want it, because we're an instant gratification generation, if there's one thing that I know about LSS, they do listen to feedback. Mm-hmm. Just full stop. There's countless times we've said, hey, it'd be great if X, Y, or Z, and then 6 months, a year later, whatever, it happens.
Yep. That's true. A lot of times it's things that have been said on this show.
Yeah.
And I do know that people from LSS listen to this show.
Yeah, I know. I have to like watch what I'm saying now.
No, you don't.
You know what? I tweeted it, but I really,
why do you have to, hold on, why the fuck do you have to watch what you're saying?
Because I love Josh and I don't want him to think less of me. All
right.
I tweeted it, but I truly did mean it. My biggest complaint about missing all of the Pro Tour stuff, and I was trying very hard not to let my family know how bothered I was that I went all the way out there to miss my event for me and whatever, but
they don't listen to this. You're fine.
Yeah, I know. They don't listen to this, so I'm fine. But I was very, very bummed to be so close and feel so far. And the biggest thing was just like, I wanted to see the people. It's not every day I can see Izur or Alex or, a lot of the people that were coming out to that event. I really wanted to catch up with folks. So like that kind of sucked, but
I noticed that I didn't get mentioned in any of those names. That's good.
It's twofold. One, because I know that I will see you, right? And also I still have the benefit of talking to you somewhat regularly. But the reality is like, even more so than Flake, I feel like I will see, even though Flake could drive to my house, like he's within driving distance more so than you are, I see you more often. You know what I mean? So
there's that, but I don't get turned away at the border of Michigan. So
yeah, that's a bit of it. So yeah, it's one of those like, you know, Ejur and Alex and some of those people that are on the other side of the planet. I have very limited times to see them, and I love to see them. That's why I always go out of my way when I'm in the same place.
I mean,
at Worlds every day, I went and made sure I said hi to Ejur and, you know.
Yep. I'm even looking at a trip in 2025, early 2025, going to Bali, going to Indonesia, because Ejur.
Well, in Bali.
And
like, you had me at Bali.
You had me at Bali.
Like, you had me at Bali, but Ejur is the frosting on that delicious cake.
Oh, boy, howdy. He is delicious frosting. But, yeah, and I fielded a lot of questions throughout the weekend of, hey, when's Charmer going to get here? And you were missed. People cared. They wanted you there. So don't think that you weren't in people's thoughts, you know, wishing that you were present. You know, you were definitely.
Yeah, a few people, I think, were enjoying it a bit much, though. I'm just saying, you know who you are, Captain Schadenfreude?
Captain Schadenfreude. Fair. But yeah, it's ultimately, you know, yeah, you're right. We actually have at this point in time, a very long recorded digital record.
Yeah.
So if I were to, you know, just fly on a Boeing, you know, on my way to Vegas and not survive it, because that's a thing. You could always go back and watch old episodes, and it'd be like you're still in the room with me. So you still have that. But you don't really have that with some of the others, right? Like,
no.
You know, I get that. And that makes sense. And that's, you know, with this is obviously got a little heavier all of a sudden, but like Jordan, our friend, Jordan, you know, former co-host of this show, or former, you know, heartbeat of this show, I should say.
Current co-host who's on a sabbatical.
Yes, he is on one fucking hell of a sabbatical. You know, he's very, it's very important for him to have pictures with his friends, because he doesn't want to ever be in a spot where he can forget, you know, the times that were good. So yeah, I get it. Like, I understand. And I think that, you know, in one of the things I think we all should be better about, especially with the way this community and how tight it is, and how many of us are, you know, not just in a parasocial relationship, you know, like we've met each other, we've hung out, we've spent a lot of time, we're actually friends, finding time to like spend non-flesh and blood time together. So like in October, I'm going to West Virginia I'm going for the West Virginia Iowa State football game, of which the Doctors of Runeblade have tickets, and they're like, hey, come watch the game. It's also Anna's 30th birthday.
Oh, so like, really?
All right, fuck it, let's go. So I'm going to go do that. And nothing flesh and blood related at all. Just hang out, watch football, day drink, you know, have a good time as friends.
I thought you said nothing flesh and blood related at all, because you said day drink as well.
Is that flesh and blood related?
It is with you.
Fair enough. But I guess that's my way of just saying, you know, find the time for the people that matter. And we don't need excuses to get together. We can always find a better reason if we need to. Just friends are friends. Treat them like that. That's it. That's the end of it. Also, if Johnny Pastrami, you're listening, I did mention to Josh Maxson that you listened to both of our shows, and he did laugh uproariously and said, "What the fuck?" Just so you know. That being said, I'm going to thank some patrons, because why wouldn't I?
I don't know. Do you have it pulled up?
Fuck yeah, I do.
All right, because that would have been why you might not have been able to do it.
No, I actually have it pulled up. Starting with our associate producers, we have Andy, Sindra, Donnie K, Jacob, Kenny, Larry, and the Salty Sea Cat. Our executive producers on up, we have Alex, Blaze Storm, valued member of the Patreon, Dom, Lance, good thrust, Matt Tutokes, Pox on us, Trevor, Papa Mike, Philip, Rich, and Taylor. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/fleshandpod. Link is in the show notes. If you have a fucking killer name, I might just shout it. It is possible. But there's a bunch of tiers. Any paid tier gets you into FAP After Dark. We got kind of fucking raw last week on FAP After Dark.
Yeah, I wish I was awake for it. I actually fully intended to attend, but then because that was, so again, we got back really late, and then I had to turn around and go into the office and play catch up. So then I got home from the office late, and I was like, I need a nap. And it was one of those naps that was like meant to be an hour nap, and it turned into a 12-hour nap. So
yeah, that'll happen. But yeah, there was actually it was, like I said, it got a little, I wouldn't know. I know it's probably no rawer than usual, but it just seemed like the conversation was flowing in the directions it was flowing was even more freeform than normal. But
okay,
so it was a good time. And we, I think there was 9 of us or 10 of us at the peak. And just like you said, it's a good conversation, good vibes. So and we're doing it monthly so far, we're pretty consistent as far as getting one done a month. And April and May are going to be very easy for me. So that's great. Not by everybody else, but for me, it would be. If you need to contact the show, you can always reach us at fleshandpod@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at FleshPod, but the best thing you can ever do is just join the fucking Discord. Links in the show notes. Click on the goddamn thing. Join the Discord. You can find us all in there. It's easy. You should do that.
You should do that.
You should also subscribe to the YouTube channel, just because, like, even if you don't really watch YouTube videos, just go subscribe, because I don't know. It's embarrassing. My wife doesn't even do like any content anymore, and she has more subscribers than this show does.
I have more subscribers than this show, and this show has definitely put out more content than me in the last like 2 years. So
yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't know. Where can they find you, Derek?
On this show, in the Discord, and at O'Hare Airport, apparently.
Live tweeting from O'Hare Airport. Was it American Airlines? I gotta know.
Of course it was American Airlines.
Of course it was American Airlines. Why wouldn't it?
And so here's the thing, right? I almost never fly American. I almost exclusively fly Delta, just because Detroit is the second
Delta hub.
Yeah, it's like the second biggest Delta hub behind Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
Yep. So 9 times out of 10, it's just like necessity ends up being Delta. But for whatever reason, the times that were available out of Detroit this time didn't match up with my schedule. So instead of flying out of Detroit, we were flying out of Ford, Grand Rapids Airport, on the west side of the state. And they're an American hub. So it was an American flight, and it was awful. So I will not be doing that again.
So let's put it this way. In the Los Angeles airport in LAX, I was in my terminal, and I look over, and sitting at a restaurant are Matt McInnes, Carolina, and Mansant.
Yep.
And I'm like, hey, how you guys doing? Oh, we're delayed until tomorrow.
Yeah.
Cool. American. Yeah. Huh. I'm going to go get on my Spirit Airlines flight right now, which is leaving on time.
Yeah.
Bye. Like, just don't fly American. Like, it's easy.
No, I will not be making that mistake again. So.
Absolutely not. And no, I avoid them at all costs. I have never had a single trip where all legs of my American airline flight left on time. None. Has never happened.
Considering how little I fly them, aka this trip, as of right now, I can't say that any of my American airline flights have left on time. Because all of them, connections included, were delayed.
Right. Yep. I do not think that I think that they're the worst of the airlines. That includes the discount airlines. I'd fly Allegiant, Frontier, Spirit all before I'd fly American.
I would fly Air Canada before I would fly American again.
Isn't that just like the nicer version of American Airlines?
Yeah, but at least it's the nicer version of American Airlines.
That's fair. I don't got anything else. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. And like I said, I didn't get up to much flesh and blood just because of the nature of my week, and my midweek was hosed. But today was what I needed. So if you follow me on Twitter, you know I had a very good day playing Star Wars today.
He did have a very good day playing Star Wars today.
Yeah.
And I guess I didn't even think about what I did in Flesh and Blood this week. I didn't do anything in Flesh and Blood this week. It was opening day of baseball season on Armory Night, and that's my religious holiday. There's no...
No, my Armory Night was... Well, so there's the two, right? So there's Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday I wasn't home in time for that one. So then it was going to be the Wednesday one. And like I said, I got home late from the office. I was tired. I went to take my hour nap to be up for After Dark. And then I woke up on Thursday. So there just was no midweek Flesh and Blood for me.
And I guess there was the Saturday Armory. I just decided to, instead of playing Armory, go play Kingdom Death Monster.
Okay.
So
that tracks.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
That game is a fucking blast. So like I absolutely love playing Kingdom Death Monster. All right. Well, that's the show for this week. I guess it's an hour and 46 minutes with no news. So perfect. Although we had breaking news. That's new. Thanks, Greg, for giving us the heads up on that. But I guess we'll talk to you all next week for 1, 2, 3, which is X-Pac and whatever.
Hey, wait. No, you hang up.
I am hanging up. Bye.